Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for August 16th. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and I'm here today to update you on everything that happened yesterday on the Big Brother 26 live feeds. It was day 31 in the house, and oh boy, is it a whole new world. Not in the way that Cam might sing it
Thank you.
to Blue, but it's a whole new house. It's a whole new world. And there's a lot to get through today because the entire landscape of the game has changed. And with me to talk about it all is Pooya. How you doing, Pooya?
I'm doing great. It was a very fun night. So fun, in fact, that I've slept about 90 minutes. So if you're watching the podcast and you're like, why is he wearing glasses? Because I do not want the comments to be flooded with, you look tired. I do not look tired. I look very cool. So there you go.
Pooya, they always tell me I look tired when I've finally slept, and they tell me I look great when I've not slept. So I don't know. Listen, I think it's just random.
It is
Although,
the luck of the draw. Yeah.
yeah, the shades are not a bad idea, though.
Thank you.
That's
Thank
what
you.
they do in the house with. Listen, I have bright lights on me. I don't know if you could know this, but like it takes a lot of light to have a shot that looks good. So shades not bad. That's what they do in the house because of the bright lights. So makes sense.
Hey, we pick up some things watching the show. So
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into it here because, of course, as we knew, Angela was the HOH. Quinn was the secret HOH. Up on the block was Cedric, Mackenzie, and Rubina. We had talked a lot about T-Core and Chemo and how they were discussing the possibility of a flip in the event that Rubina was on the block against Cedric. What I said yesterday was there's not a lot of time to make this happen. They will need to lock in very quickly. They will need to get people on board. It doesn't seem like the kind of thing that they are, apt to do at this point. They like to move slow. But I learned something about T-Core and Chemo yesterday, which is that they certainly are passive players. I think we can say that. I think we can say that's a fairly decent description of them. But that doesn't mean that they're not willing to act. It's just that they are deeply, deeply procrastinators. Uh, they are just gonna wait until the absolute last minute to turn in the project. Because they woke up at 3 a.m. in the morning. And they were like, oh man, we still haven't done the project. The teacher's going to be so mad. Can we make it work?
Man, it's relatable. I sometimes I like to have a little vent sesh. It helps me feel good. And Liana will start offering solutions. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. We are not looking for solutions right now. We just want to complain to complain. But then you get up and you do the solution ultimately anyway. You get there. And at least that's how I feel. And with them, I feel like, it's been a lot of talk and not a lot of action. I think procrastination is the perfect way to put it. I saw someone else on Twitter say that, so T-Core and Chemo operate with 14 days of processing time and then 2 days delivery. Like that's how it works with them. And I think that ultimately this is how we end up here.
Yeah, it's like they could have done the work before. And if they had done it before, then Rubina wouldn't even be on the block. But they didn't. And that's just like when you haven't like paid attention in class all semester and you have a big test that's all of your grade and you're like, I don't even own the book for this class. What am I gonna do? I don't know. It's 3 a.m. The test is in a few hours. How am I gonna figure this out? And then you just figure it out. You just have to figure it out. This is college life. This is Big Brother life. And that's what happened on day 31 of Big Brother 26 is that, man, did they figure something out?
Yeah. And listen, the later you submit the project on Big Brother, the more fun and exciting it is for us. Because there's a lot of anticipation that goes into it to build it up.
So they woke up early, T-Core and Chemo. And T-Core told Chemo that she is down. That was the thing holding them back, was that T-Core had not committed to the plan, but she is now committed. That pump up conversation we talked about yesterday with Rubina the night before, she said it also ended up pumping herself up. And she was thinking about the civil rights movement and how you never actually make progress if you don't do the scary thing, and that you should do the thing even if you are scared. Do it scared. And Chemo's like, you're pumping me up right now. I was having second thoughts myself, but now I feel like we should definitely do this. And so they commit to the idea of flipping the vote on Cedric in the event that Rubina is on the block against him. They decide they need to talk to Joseph and Leah about it, because those are the 2 votes that they will need in their minds, because they don't really know where MJ stands. And so that is the approach now. We must talk to Joseph and Leah.
They're trying to get the squad together. They need 5 votes. And ultimately, what's funny is they don't know where MJ lies. I feel like I knew where Leah was going to be with this. So they really needed Joseph, in my opinion.
Exactly. Because they'd already talked. Chemo had already brought it up to Joseph, and Joseph was like, I think it's too early. I'm not sure, which makes sense from Joseph's perspective. It is probably a better outcome for him if Rubina leaves, because it weakens T-Core and Chemo while keeping his place within the collective in the Pentagon, while still being able to formulate some kind of counter strike against the Pentagon in the following week. And he doesn't have to blow up his spot at all. So, like, that's probably where he wants to be. So we expect that he will have some resistance to this idea in the same way that he had the day before. So Chemo approached him, and Joseph was like, I'm not sure. I feel like it's showing our cards a little early. I don't know. You've got my mind spinning, but I'm not sure. And it was basically exactly the response I would have expected from Joseph in that moment. Now, feeds go down for a lockdown. They come back. Chemo's pissed. He's just like, why won't people do this? They don't care about our games in the same way. And why did Quinn put Rubina up in the first place? And like, I'm sorry, I just can't hide it. I get really sassy when I'm mad, and I'm like, ooh, like, this is better, Chemo.
I like fired up Chemo. Fired up Chemo's a lot of fun. We need more of this energy.
I want Chemo to be mad more.
I feel like we're gonna get a more mad Chemo down the line here. It's feeling that way. The house is getting to him.
Now, in the middle of that, Joseph came up and he was like, you know what? I've been thinking about it, and you might be right. I could be down, but only if you have Leah and MJ locked in. Now, I could be wrong about this. My read on this situation was that Joseph was thinking it through, and he realized, wait a minute, they don't even need my vote.
Right.
Because they never did. Because they always had Leah and MJ, because Brooklyn and Chelsea completely dropped the ball and fumbled those relationships. And so with that in mind, I think Joseph was just like, hold on, do you guys have MJ and Leah? And they were like, not yet. And he's like, well, if you get them, let me know. And I'm down. I'm in. If you already have the votes locked in without me, at that point, I am definitely in. Totally a great idea. And just let me know, and I'll be on board. And so that's basically how that conversation went.
Yeah, if we're talking about Chemo and T-Core being the ones to submit a paper very late last second, Joseph is the one who's like, if we're guaranteed a B+, I'll put my name on it too. I'm in.
Joseph, who was in another group, was like, oh, you guys are actually gonna finish? I mean, listen, I'll jump in. Like, I will like, I'll write the closing paragraph. If you guys need me, if you need some help, I'll write the close, but only if you've definitely finished all the rest of it.
Yeah. Is it ready to submit? Okay. Maybe I'm into it.
So they, with that in mind, they were like, okay, like, we want to do this. Joseph should be on board. We need to approach Leah and MJ. but we don't see it. The feeds go down. They haven't approached Leah yet. They haven't talked to MJ. And we head into this eviction with literally anybody still on the table. MJ, if she doesn't win the AI arena competition, Rubina, if the flip doesn't go through because they didn't have time to talk to everyone, or Cedric, if the flip does go through. And what we saw in the AI arena was that MJ did in fact win the AI arena by
So good.
less than a second, it felt like.
Yeah. Like, I mean, all the way until we see MJ jumping, I thought Rubina had won. So that was the perfect photo finish. You know, we just had a good photo finish in the Olympics. Big Brother said, we have photo finish at home. And honestly, they did. This was a very phenomenal close call here.
I did talk to Cedric this morning. That's why we are live at noon today. It was a very fun conversation. Check it out. Should be ready to post probably sometime after this update finishes. Now, one thing that I had seen Cedric talk about and asked him about was that he had thought about sabotaging MJ in the AI arena competition, knowing that MJ was the person he needed to beat. And because he was listening to the rules and they didn't explicitly say that you weren't allowed to sabotage. And by sabotage, he literally means just like walk over to MJ's board and just swat away the balls every time she tried to roll them. And he genuinely considered just going over and doing that, but felt like, you know, it was a live show. He didn't want to screw it up too much. So he didn't end up doing it. But man, that would have been interesting. So I asked him, like, do you think that was allowed? So you can hear his full answer to that and more in our next interview. But ultimately it was MJ that wins the AI arena, which led to, of course, the most exciting outcome. And this is what I was hoping for all week long. When Tucker was like, I might not use the veto, I might use it on MJ. And I was like, sure, that will be exciting in the moment, but I want Rubina on the block. I want this battle. I want this potential flip, the drama here. This is what it was all leading toward, because we were finally using that time. Julie was happy.
So shady to call them out on it. Like, oh, 3 weeks in, you finally decided to use this extra time. It's like, okay, Julie, let them breathe. But it was exciting. It was very funny. It really, like, last night really gave double eviction energy. Finally.
Oh, yeah. And so there's some last minute scrambling. And from what we are, I think, able to gather from after the fact, this really was a last minute scramble.
Yes.
That I was watching live on Twitch, and I was watching carefully for T-Core and Chemo, watching Leah in particular, watching MJ. And Leah, I don't think had even really been told or locked in. Now, she, I think by default, was likely to vote Cedric. However, I don't think it was locked in at this point, which meant that Joseph might not be locked in at this point. They have no idea where MJ is. This could accidentally happen. This could accidentally not happen. This could intentionally happen. And it was still all up in the air. Chelsea had been talk blocking T-Core, Chemo, and Leah over by the bedrooms. And then when Julie calls them in, Chelsea leaves. Leah stays. And I believe it's at that moment that they are able to confirm with Leah that it's happening. They're able to confirm with Joseph later, and with that, they have the votes to send Cedric out. It was so chaotic. MJ even says after the fact, I had no idea what was going on. I was just trying to figure out where I should vote. I almost voted Rubina out, thinking that that's where the votes were, which is just another testament to the failure of the Pentagon to lock these votes in. They should have had MJ locked in. That should have been a thing, but nobody even told MJ specifically where she should be voting and why, because they all kind of expected her to be leaving, I think, that night. And so it all comes together. The votes come in by a vote of 6-3. Cedric has been evicted from the Big Brother house, and the entire game has changed.
Yes. Now, for me, of the group, the one that definitely just kind of voted on the right side without knowing anything going on was MJ, because MJ goes as far as to say, yeah, I thought you were leaving to Rubina, but I voted for Cedric to go. It was like, okay, it kind of worked out for you then. But everyone else definitely ultimately ends up locking. And we do hear later, Joseph tells, I believe, T-Core and Chemo, yeah, I was voting the other way 20 seconds before I went in there. And he cited seeing a look that was shared that kind of pushed him to confirmed to him, okay, we're definitely doing this. And I think it was the look T-Core had on her face that, okay, this is definitely happening. I'm voting the right way then. So it was very shaky grounds, this move, but ends up looking and getting pulled off with a 6-3.
Man, this is one of those, like, I saw Cedric's extended interview. It's very sad.
Very
He's
sad.
very emotional, which, like, it's very sad, but in, like, a very endearing way.
Yes.
But man, this would get to me if I knew how close it was and how many just small, tiny little things I could have done or my allies could have done to change that outcome in that moment, and it's an entirely different game. Oh, that would eat me up. So another thing that happened during the scramble was that Brooklyn was letting Rubina down. Like, oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. I wouldn't do it otherwise. It's been a great journey. I've meant what I said and how I feel about you. That was my favorite part of the scrambling, because I was like, oh, you are so not ready for what's about to happen. And it was great.
And then the votes come in, and she's one of 3 people that voted against Rubina to the 6 that did not. I can't remember if it was Melissa or Mari on the roundtable this week who said, I'm concerned about Brooklyn and handling adversity, but oof, did she fumble here, because she was very embarrassed about the whole situation. Because remember, it's worth pointing this out. Rubina and Brooklyn were a duo at the start of the season. It was those two together. They were like a thing. And Brooklyn let that go in the same way that Chelsea has let the MJ and Leah situation go. And I mean, she's just trying to do anything she can to excuse the fact that she just voted against Rubina. And so she comes up with this story, which is half truth, half lie, essentially. It's that, hey, I wanted to keep you, lie. But T-Core and Chemo did not tell me that they were going to vote to keep you, that the votes were there to keep you, truth. And I would have voted to keep you if I had known that the votes were there. Probably true, but only because she wanted to be on the right side of it. And so she's essentially saying that I got tricked by T-Core and Chemo into voting against you. They tricked me into doing that. I always wanted to keep you, lie. And so this is the story that she's come up with. I think she feels like it's a good way to excuse herself to Rubina. The problem is she's directly attacking T-Core and Chemo in a spot where they're the ones who just saved Rubina, and it's just not gonna work unless you're in power. But the HOH hasn't happened yet, and so you don't know who's in power.
Yeah, like this only works if you have safety or can promise them safety. Otherwise, it makes no sense, because you're essentially looking at the person who you voted out and telling them, hey, be mad at these two who voted you to stay. They should be the ones you're mad at because they lied to me and they made it so that I couldn't vote for you to stay. And you know how much I care about you. It's like, yeah, but they still voted for me to stay. No matter what you say, they voted for me to stay. For a little split second there, it looked like this was getting to Rubina, and I was very nervous because T-Core and Chemo spent the entirety of the pre-wall comp feeds hiding in a corner room, not talking to anybody. I was like, please don't let them run with the narrative because it could get somewhere. But there were enough people also there that anytime Brooklyn would leave, Leah was like, she don't believe her. She doesn't know what she's talking about. T-Core and Chemo are cool. So they had enough shooters for them that helped protect it for sure.
It kind of reminds me a bit of like replacement nominee roulette fallout in Big Brother 10 when Ollie is pissed off about the replacement nominee roulette and he goes up to like Rennie and Keisha and he's like, Dan lied to us. He said that he was going to nominate you guys. Like, can you believe that he did that? Like, he lied to us. That's the only reason. And Keisha's just like, why would I be mad about that? He didn't nominate me.
Yeah, I'm not the one on the block. You are.
So that's what Brooklyn is up to. Of course, Tikor and Chemo are going to find out that she's doing this. And they're pretty upset about it. They don't love that she's doing this. But there's more on that later. Another thing that happens, Chemo has been asking / pestering Tikor. Can we tell Tucker about the Pentagon yet? Can we tell Tucker about the collective yet? Can we tell Tucker yet? Can we tell Tucker? And Tikor's been like, no. This guy's a wild card. But now he's like, can we tell? We should tell him now. We should probably tell him now. And just kind of blurts it out to Tucker, like, hey, I've got something to tell you. There's an alliance. The one that we were hinting about, we were in it. The collective. And Tikor is kind of like, you know.
Yeah, because right before this happens, it was like Tikor seemed to be open to it. It was like, yeah, we should probably do it before someone else blows it up and he tells him first. And then she was like, should we bring in like him and Rabina now and tell them now? And then this is Tikor we're talking about. So she didn't, when she said now, she didn't mean now. She meant, let's think about it some more and then we'll get to it. But then Chemo just ran with it. And listen, we've hit a new dimension with Tikor. If Tikor's not even anymore and it's just silence, she did not want anything to do with that. The minute he leaves, Tikor's like, he's like, how do you feel? And Tikor's like, uncomfortable. And he was like, oh my God, I'm sorry. I thought this was when we were going to tell him. But even the way Chemo said it, I felt like it was weird. It felt like he wanted to say it, but not say it in a specific way. But it worked good enough, I guess. Like it worked. It didn't like fall back on them in any negative way.
Well, I mean, the reality here is that Joseph told Tucker about this like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, so he already knows they can't botch this delivery.
So, I mean, listen, Tikor and Chemo being late to revealing things to people, not a new thing.
No.
So they've now told him, and this is relevant a little bit later. They go and they compete on the wall.
Let's talk about the wall, Taran. We both watched it live. Let's talk about our.
First of all, they all suck at it. I mean, this was very fast.
This was the shortest, I think. It's going to end up being the shortest or one of the shortest.
I think it's the shortest wall. I have not actually looked at any actual statistics, but in my head, it's the shortest. Because but also we don't know exactly how long it went.
Exactly. This is very true. This is very true.
But very quickly, people start dropping like the flies that choked up Cedric. And just one by one, Angela goes, Chemo goes. I can pull up the chart here. We see that you know, like Chelsea's gonna fall, Leah's gonna fall, and Tikor's gonna fall, Rubina's gonna fall, Brooklyn falls, Mackenzie falls, and all of a sudden it's down to Tucker, Cam, and Quinn. Cam has a couple of really close calls where his foot slips right off the platform and he holds it.
Half his foot was over the ledge. Like this guy's feet were just dangling off this entire time.
It's down to Quinn and Tucker after Cam falls. It's down to Quinn and Tucker, the two rivals up on the wall. Quinn's been talking a big game on the wall. Tucker's been talking a big game. Quinn is saying, hey, I'm a rock climber. I've got the grip strength. I've got the experience. Tucker's saying, hey, I carry grocery bags into my house, and I'm really good at it.
I don't change grip. I keep the same hand the whole way through.
And so it's a back and forth. It's exciting. It's the two of them at the end. And bum, 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 bum. Feeds cut.
Feeds cut. And they cut for, I'm going to be shady, about as long as the wall comp itself had been all until this point. Feeds come back to people in the shower. Yeah, that's right. We didn't get to see the ending to this. It was like 35 minutes. We didn't even get to see the ending to this. Mind you, Taran, I've been waiting to watch it since the East Coast airing had finished. So I've been anticipating this. I'm excited. I cannot believe we didn't get an ending for this, especially finding out later that there could have been some conversations that went up on that wall before the comp concluded.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we learn later that Tucker offered Quinn a deal. Quinn turned it down. And then Quinn fell, meaning Tucker is the new HOH. Just like that.
Worth noting that both Tucker and Quinn, ironically enough, took the two edges of the board, but I don't know if it was a benefit this time, man. It looks like they definitely maximized the goo shootout on both sides here.
It did feel like so. To clarify here, last season they screwed up the goo distribution, and Jared, who was on the edge, was getting very little goo compared to people in the middle. Because it was kind of like, oh well, yeah, we'll just shoot it at the wall, and they aimed it, and it was centrally located. This time around, Quinn and Tucker were on the ends. Theoretically they were in the best goo spots. But Pooya is correct. It did seem like they fixed the problem. The goo distribution was much more evenly spread. You're not going to take any bites of this sandwich without any goo in it.
Yeah, and honestly, if we're doing goo analysis, it felt like Tucker had more goo on him than anybody else. I don't know if it was just the camera angle, but he was like a shade of green the entire time, and MJ was next to him, and MJ did not look that shade of green to me.
So I will say this. I think that it is possible that while the goo distribution was better, the water distribution may not have been.
That's fair.
And so I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, considering they both lasted until the end. It could be good, but you would also expect them to both be decently good at this. But I do think that perhaps they had less water coming onto them, and therefore the goo did not wash off as much. So I don't know. The water, I think I've heard, I think the water helps get rid of some of the goo, but at the same time, it also soaks you, and you can't like keep you can't keep the handholds free of water in the same way that you can keep it free from goo. So who knows? There might still have been an advantage on the edges there if with the water.
I think the biggest advantage is if you're ever doing the wall comp, wear multiple bits of underwear. Wear like 3 boxers if you can, because then you got layers of rinse. A lot of these boys, Cam, Tucker, both dug into the pants and rinsed off, wiped off onto the boxers so that they had a layer of dryness. And they said that was only good for like the one go. So if you wear like 3 pairs of underwear, that's 3 layers of redemption.
Well, Tucker was trying to bring extra socks.
He was trying to definitely hack this comp to oblivion.
Quinn was using his hair to wipe his hands off.
Yeah, which I personally thought he should have tied his hair up because it felt like it was going to be distracting. But I mean, the guy made it to the last 2, so I think it worked out for him.
Well, Tucker is the new HOH, and oh boy, Quinn is not happy. He's going to spend some time kind of sulking, just like staring into space. He finally doesn't have much to say. And it feels like we're seeing a bit more of like Quinn without the character of Quinn. And quite frankly, I think that's a good thing for his stay in the house. I think that like the more people can see him being a bit more vulnerable, the better. I've been talking about this, that I feel like he just needs a bit more vulnerability in his approach to relationships in the house and perhaps with the audience. And so, we'll see if that lasts, but he was definitely feeling it after this.
Oh, he was sitting, so he jumped out of the shower, kind of took the shower halfway, then proceeded to sit down in that middle room for what felt like 20 minutes, and the camera stayed on him, and we were watching him, and I was thinking, okay, some people in my chat were like, is this like calculated? Is he trying to like farm sympathy? And I was like, no, just think of the L he took. He literally had an HOH reign where he put on a suit, hammed it up, did these interviews, only to have one of his closest allies leave. None of his targets left. They all stayed. Then he's been bigging himself up about winning this wall comp. Doesn't win the wall, loses the wall to his number one enemy, the one person that's gonna put him up for sure. And he's still processing the fact that he got blindsided by his closest allies in T-Core and Chemo. So I was like, he's taken like 4 L's in the span of 4 days. Let him have this 20 minutes to himself.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it speaks to the downsides of having this sort of persona of playing a bit of a character that that like even when you drop it and you are like actually devastated, people are like, nah, it's faking it.
He's scheming. I was like, I don't know. He looks like he's just sad. Like, let him be sad. Like,
yeah, I'm sure he's feeling great. Actually, there, you're totally right. So Brooklyn though is going to continue to double down on her story. She's going to talk with Rubina for a long time again about how she was tricked by T-Core and Chemo. She is just continuing to double down, continuing to try to push this narrative, and this is just not the way. Especially now that you've lost the HOH, you are not in power. What is the point? You're throwing people under the bus who are now closely connected to the person who is in charge. Like, what are you trying to get out of why are you trying to get like Rubina to like, it's just, this is not the way. There's a way where you can say, I was totally down to keep you. I just wish I knew the votes were there, without throwing T-Core and Chemo directly under the bus. But she's not doing that. She is trying to directly throw T-Core and Chemo under the bus. That's not the way. I feel like you could, if you really wanted to, you could maybe slow play this, where you say, oh my God, I really thought you were gone. I really didn't think it was ever going to happen. You have to talk, because you know that T-Core and Chemo just betrayed you. You have to talk about the collective. You have to talk about, like, we were in an alliance. I thought the alliance consensus was to get rid of you. I really didn't want it to happen. I felt really bad about it, but I felt like it was the only thing I could do because of the alliance I was in. I'm so sorry. That's it. Later, after you've maybe repaired the relationship a little bit, you can be like, you know, I've been thinking a lot about how T-Core and Chemo, like, they could have brought me in on that vote. Like, I don't know why they like lied to me about keeping you. They knew I wanted to keep you. Like, you know, there's a way to do this, and it is not like full fire, jump off the cliff and hope that you can fly.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely a level of humility that Brooklyn could have brought into this, where you voice that you are upset that you were not informed, and then you acknowledge to Rubina, like, Rubina, listen, I genuinely thought you were leaving. That's why I talked to you right before the votes and said that I don't want to do this, but it's what the house is going to be like. I feel like when she was making it sound like, am I going to jeopardize my game because I thought I was going to be in the minority voting for you, so I didn't want to do that. I think if she left it at that for now, it would have been okay. But I think pushing, continuously trying to pass the buck to T-Core and Chemo, and see, and you know, earlier we saw, before the wall comp happens, we saw Leah and Rubina come into the room and kind of let T-Core and Chemo know this, and T-Core starts tearing up. Clearly, because T-Core and Chemo have been hiding in this corner. They felt ignored. They felt like they were getting bad energy from the ones they blindsided, which they were. And immediately Rubina knows that, hey, they stuck their neck out to save me. Like, they are the good ones here. Yeah. So if you're Brooklyn, you have no leg to stand on here to act this way. But to me, and this is the reason I love a good power shifter or a blindside, now Brooklyn has to play from the bottom. And I think what Mari said rings true. And we saw a snippet of this, Taran. We talked about this on the Friday morning update last week, where Brooklyn was very upset with Angela for picking her twice for the HOH comp, only to find out that she did it first anyway. Brooklyn cannot handle being on the wrong side of things at all. And last night should be a case study on how to turn the house against yourself within 6 hours, because it was honestly impressive.
So Tucker and Joseph go into the storage room. Yes. Let's go. Celebrate. Yes.
Bropocalypse. All the bros.
Joseph doing his bro thing, which still feels very unnatural, but like, yes, come on, bro. Cedric had to go. He was saying he was coming after you. Of course he had to go. And doing their critics thing and doing the celebration and just listen. Joseph's making it work.
He's absolutely making it work. A lot of people in that house have been either avoidant of Tucker or praying for his downfall and just waiting for him to lose a comp to push him out. Joseph's been kind of kissing ass, but he's been actively putting in the work for this exact moment where Tucker is in charge of the week, and he is pretty much the number one confidant or close to it. He's been waiting for this moment. He's been trying to have this moment since that first week with Matt. He finally gets to have his bro moment with the head bro, and he's loving it.
Yeah. Joseph is going to later talk to T-Core and Chemo about the flip and how he decided he wanted to go for it, and how he was totally on board. And they discuss how to possibly save Quinn this week. That ideally they keep Quinn around. They take out one of Cam or Brooklyn or Chelsea, something like that. And he asks them, hey, did you guys tell Tucker and Rubina about the collective yet? And Chemo's like, oh, what? What did you say? Have you told them about the collective yet? Because I could see why you might tell them about the collective at this point. No. But yeah, maybe we should soon. He's like, yeah, I just want to be on the same page as you guys, because I'm totally down to do that. At some point, I just want to be on the same page. And they're like, yeah, totally. We'll let you know. What we decide to do about the telling them about that. These guys,
they're trying to figure it out.
So Tucker then starts having some one-on-ones. Pooya, you don't always get these one-on-ones to talk about. They usually come Friday.
Yeah, well, lately we've kind of been getting at least a few of them. It's almost like getting the 30-second sample on iTunes back in the day for a song. It's like, yeah, we're gonna give you a couple one-on-ones outside of the HOH room, because we're not gonna give them the HOH room till way later. So I was very pleased, and that's part of the reason why I lost some sleep, Taran, is because I stayed up for every single one-on-one, and then I went to bed and watched the other stuff that happened after. To be clear, that sounded very nefarious. There was group meetings that happened after, not like nighttime stuff. Relax.
I thought you were saying you were watching Tucker and Rubina up in the HOH.
That's exactly what it sounded like, didn't it? Because I know we're going to talk about that later too. I was like, that is not what I meant. I went to bed, but I kept watching the group meetings. That happened first.
All right. Well, Tucker, he starts off talking with Brooklyn, Cam, and then Chelsea, all one-on-ones. Basically tells them all the same thing, which is that Quinn is his target, and that he will need some pawns. So sorry, but I'm going to need some pawns. Those conversations all go exactly as I think you'd expect. But then he talks to Joseph, and Joseph very quickly asks Tucker, hey, did Chemo and T-Core tell you about the collective? And Tucker's like, yeah, they told me. Like, okay, interesting. So kind of just like T-Core and Chemo, like these are just like such easy fumbles. But Joseph says to Tucker that Quinn also told him about the Chelsea, Brooklyn, Cam, Cedric thing. They're the core within the alliance.
I really loved the way Joseph phrased this. Joseph made it sound like Yeah. So Quinn told me that Cedric, Cam, Brooklyn, and Chelsea were bringing him to be part of their final five, to be their fifth in this, in part of the bigger alliance, but within the smaller one, they're fifth. And I was like, this is the perfect way to make it seem like Quinn isn't shit. Why are you doing this, Joseph? Why could this be a reason you're phrasing it this way? Joseph's agenda was very clear.
Yes. And he does this well. Like, Joseph clearly knows now that T-Core and Chemo were trying to get ahead of him in telling Tucker about things, that he can't trust them to wait on this stuff. So he's now he's already ahead of them in terms of telling Tucker about the collective. He's now going to get even more ahead of them. He's already told Tucker about these people. He's just gonna now let him know it was Quinn that told me about this because of being brought in, which also aids toward the idea of like not targeting Quinn this week, ideally, not protecting Quinn to some degree. So Tucker talks about Cam, because like there's three options. There's Cam, Chelsea, and Brooklyn, apart from Quinn, and he's got problems with all three of them. Cam, the problem with Cam is that even this week, Tucker kept approaching him with final two deals, with offers to work together, and Cam keeps telling him no. Cam keeps siding with Quinn and Cedric, and it's so stupid because she should work with Tucker. Do you look at him? They're bros. Why aren't they working together? He doesn't understand it.
And it has to be stated, but Cam doesn't dap up and hug enough for Tucker's liking. I feel like even at the end of their one-on-one, I feel like Cam just kind of got up to leave and didn't end it the proper celebratory way. I feel like this is the second week now in a row where I've heard Tucker talk about how he feels like Cam isn't pumped and psyched for him the way he expects it to be the case. Cam, fake it a little, man. Seem a little bit more excitable. You're a little too level-headed sometimes, or a little too hesitant to play sometimes.
Yeah. Listen, Cam is just not as much of a bro as Tucker wants him to be. So he says, I'm going after Cam, and I'm going after Brooklyn. And Joseph says, thank you. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Tucker says, I think Cam, Brooklyn, Quinn on the block. That's what I'm thinking. Joseph says, that's a great idea. I think that if we do that, we should really even just send out Cam or Brooklyn, because Quinn isn't even a threat anymore at this point. And Tucker's like, honestly, I agree. And he says, Tucker says this, and I think this is very telling in terms of Tucker's motivations this week. He says, I've known that Brooklyn is a snake. I've known for weeks now, but Chemo, T-Core, and Rubina, they wouldn't believe it. They kept defending Brooklyn. They wouldn't believe it until now, and now they've finally realized what a snake Brooklyn is. Now, if you recall, a few days ago, maybe a little bit more, I was talking about how Tucker was telling T-Core, Chemo, and Rubina about Brooklyn and how he had some doubts about Brooklyn within the 5 Points Alliance, right? And they all jumped on him to defend Brooklyn. They were like, no, Brooklyn is loyal. Don't you even think about targeting Brooklyn. This is just Angela getting in your head. Angela has a thing about Brooklyn. Don't do it. And he was like, okay, no, I'm not going to target Brooklyn. We're going to go down to the 5. So listen, Tucker doesn't like it when people tell him he's wrong. And now that he has been proven right, he feels like, see, it's Brooklyn. Brooklyn is the problem. And I think that this is a part of why his sights are now firmly locked on Brooklyn, in addition to obviously her own trip ups here post eviction.
Yeah, which I thought he kind of was setting up Brooklyn a little bit in the one-on-one too, when he was like, okay, so if you were HOH, you'd put up T-Core and Chemo. That's what you're saying based on the things you've been saying. Like, oh, you're handing her the shovel. Lovely. He's been ready for this. I think the other thing I want to point out is I think with T-Core and Chemo, maybe specifically T-Core, I feel like T-Core envisioned a world where post blindside she could still keep, protect, and work with the members of the Pentagon that she is blindsided here. I don't think she expected the level of heat she had gotten. They had even talked about at some point how for them, their hierarchy of people they want to keep safe is Chelsea, Brooklyn, Quinn, like in somewhat of an order. Brooklyn has fallen off that list for them. They still would like to keep Chelsea and Quinn safe, but after what happened with Brooklyn, they want nothing to do with Brooklyn. So Brooklyn had some safety net with some of those members. That's all gone now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Brooklyn really just fell off of that because T-Core, Chemo, Ruby, they would have wanted to push Mackenzie a lot more.
Yes.
You know, they would have wanted to push elsewhere, but yes, Brooklyn really threw herself into this fire when she didn't really need to. So they say, all right, we're on the same page. Joseph says, I've told you everything now. I've told you everything. Tucker says, same. I even told you that Rubina and I are going to be making out. I trust you. I trust you more than anyone else in this house, Joseph. Joseph says same. And so they're loving it.
Well, a lot, very much so.
Mm-hmm. All right. So Tucker's also going to talk to Leah. And he lets her know that like, hey, you know, or first they're really talking about like, we hate Quinn. We both hate Quinn, right? Still hate Quinn. We're both frustrated with Cam. Cam's pretty annoying too, right? And he lets her know, hey, there's another person you should not like. Did you know Chelsea's been talking smack about you all season long? He's like, just so you know, I've been going along with it, but I actually love you. She's like, wow. Oh my God, she's such a big liar because she's been up my ass. And he's like, yeah, I'm telling you, it's these religious people in the house.
Oh my God. It does not take much, man. You just wind it up a little bit with Leah and she'll go. She'll start talking smack about everybody or whoever you're talking about.
Yeah. He says, and now MJ is even siding with them. Can't believe it.
Which MJ's kind of taking a weird direction here. She voted with the right people, but then decided to get into a grouping with the ones that were blindsided. So I don't know what she's doing there. But this was a great night for Leah. It was a very net positive night for Leah. I feel like Leah kind of has found herself in a very good spot now by voting in this way and kind of backing the right people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Tucker just needs to be careful. Don't let Julie find out about this. It's whole.
Well, Tucker's not trying to get on that God 101 though, so I think he'll be okay.
Tucker talks to Quinn. And he says, listen, Quinn, I respect you. And it's unfortunate because we could have ran this hard. But I will need to put you up. It would be weird if I didn't put you up because I've been saying I'm going to put you up. But I mean this. I really mean this. I don't want you to go home. T-Core and Chemo, they've been talking to me about like reconsidering this whole thing with you. And I've been listening. And Quinn's like, hey, dude, I really appreciate what you've been doing for the show, even though it's at my expense. Like, I can appreciate that. I like that we have this thing going on. Tucker's like, yeah, we got this WWE thing going on. And it would be, honestly, it would be a lot more awkward with anyone else. And Quinn's like, I totally agree. And Quinn's honestly not doing a lot of the talking here. He's mostly just like, oh yeah, totally, definitely, I completely agree with what you're saying, Tucker. And Tucker says, listen, if I win the veto, I'm willing to do something a little crazy. I think I would use it on you, and I would put the third of the three that voted Rubina up. He says, I'm putting you up with two of those people. If I win the veto, I'll use it on you, and I will put the third person up, but only if you don't say anything about this. I can't hear about this plan from anybody. Okay, Quinn? I'm only telling you. So if I hear about it, the plan is off. Pooya, I feel like I've seen this whole thing happen before.
For sure. And also, I feel like Tucker's basically giving him a second chance at the deepfake HOH. She's like, you spoiled that. You gave that up. Try again. Let's see if you can do it this time. Listen, and I fully believe him. I 100% think he's being genuine with everything he's saying here. I think he means it. If Quinn does not spill those beans, he will potentially use the veto on him if he wins it. What's funny to me, too, is that he even said that he's not going to try as hard in the veto because he wants to see who wants it the most in the veto competition. I was like, what a gracious man. What a nice guy. Here's the thing, though. Obviously, I'm very nervous that Quinn could spill the beans. That's one. But two, by the end of the night, like 7 people know about this now.
Exactly. Tucker told half the house.
Yeah. So all it's going to take is for Angela to be like, yeah, I heard someone talk about it. And he could just go up, like that could deals off anyway. So I don't know how this plan sticks or how it's going to be, I guess, tested or examined. I don't know.
So, yeah, I mean, basically, Tucker then talks to Angela and he tells her the plan. I want to use the veto on Quinn.
Yeah.
But only if he doesn't spill it. And listen, Angela, I know it's not coming out of your mouth because we all know that Angela keeps secrets.
Famously.
So he's only telling Angela. So if he hears it, he'll know it came from Quinn and he won't.
So far,
use
so
the
good.
veto. Yeah. He then tells also Rubina, Tikor, and Chemo. And then he also tells Joseph. And he tells all of them, I'm only telling you guys. So if I hear about it, I'll know it came from Quinn. And I won't use the veto. Listen, I genuinely think there's a possibility that this blows up because here's the thing about this whole concept. And this is what we talked about last season, is that not only has Tucker told multiple people about this idea so that it could very easily get out from any one of them, but it's also just a thing that somebody could guess. Like, there's only so many possibilities for what might happen. And so it would, like, literally downstairs, Chelsea and Brooklyn were like, he's going after Quinn for now, but he could easily change his mind. It's Tucker. And so, like, they're literally already 3/4 of the way there. And if Tucker hears that, he'll be like, I knew it, Quinn. And then we might be in for some drama.
Yeah. Also, this is the same man who forgets what people say to him or what he says to people. So this is all like on a house of cards for sure that could just topple over. But I think ultimately, even in the situation where Quinn spills the beans, the target doesn't shift to Quinn. Quinn just doesn't get the veto used on him is kind of the conditions he's put there, because it looks like he's got 2 other people he would like to see go first before it lands back on Quinn.
I mean, that is correct right now, but it wouldn't surprise me if Tucker feels
mad,
like Quinn spilled,
yeah,
the target shifts back to Quinn.
If he gets mad. Here's my theory, Taran. I feel like Tucker continuously brings up this WWE thing with Quinn. I think he likes that. I think as much as in the shadows, he's like, yeah, he's going to call me 700 different names. Well, he's got to be ready for what I'm going to throw his way. I feel like he likes having a rival. He likes having an arch nemesis to kind of butt heads with a little bit. I think he likes that more than not getting the required amount of hugs and daps and also having a snake in the house. So my thing is, I think he's like, Quinn, take the deal. I would like for you to stay. Please let me keep you here. But if, to your point, if Quinn does a lot or Quinn doesn't do enough or whatever, if he wakes up one morning basically not feeling it, he could just be like, all right, just get rid of Quinn anyway.
Is Tucker Guy Pearce in Memento?
I have to sit up to Google this. What is that? Guy Pearce in Memento?
Yeah.
What? Guy?
Is he because he forgets about conversations. He wants a rival. He wants a purpose in life. I'm telling you, if you watch Memento.
Oh, Guy Pearce in Memento.
Yeah.
I thought it was someone called Guy Pearson Memento. All right, it's a good movie, Taran. Should I watch this?
Oh, it's a great movie, Pooya.
All right, put it on the list.
Oh, yeah. All right. So Tucker talks to Angela. Angela says, listen, I just want to hang out with you. and like everyone. Like, I just want to hang out with you guys. And he's like, yes, we're gonna be good. So Tucker tells MJ, he talks to MJ, he tells MJ that Quinn is his target. And MJ says, hey, I would love to work with you. I want to get into an alliance. I really think we can work with Brooklyn and Chelsea. I feel like we can really make something happen there. And it's like, oh boy. Like, MJ.
What show? MJ's on a different season.
Listen, just I mean, to be fair, like she's basically like the other side of Tucker right now, where she's only here because she's won 2 comps that have saved her.
Yes. This is the thing for me yesterday. And I think a lot of people felt this way. The blind side was a lot of fun. The flip was great. Cedric being on the receiving end was probably one of the worst case scenarios of that grouping because, you know, if it was Cam, I'm not batting an eye. I'm moving on with my life. Everything's fine. But if also the blind side didn't happen and Mackenzie went, I was going to be very content because Mackenzie's kind of just lost in this game. I feel like she's got no allegiances, no place to go, but also isn't a compelling piece in the game for anybody to pick up right now. In that I wouldn't be excited at this prospect at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, we will see what happens. She is currently not being targeted by Tucker, but that may not last. So Tucker gets Rubina, T-Core, Chemo, and Angela all in a room. This is the tanks, the alliance that Angela's at the bottom of.
I can get on the bottom.
And they renamed it to the fish tanks. And so but they talk about how he's like MJ literally just tried to pitch that I work with Brooklyn and Chelsea. They're like, wow. He tells them all about the Quinn plan and the veto thing, and he tells them not to say anything. They talk about Joseph and how he voted with them, and they'd be happy to bring Joseph in. And then look at that. Joseph walks by. They pull him in. They say, Joseph. And they talk about creating an alliance. And they got to come up with some names. And Joseph starts throwing out some names. He suggests 6th Avenue. They like that name. Okay, 6th Avenue. And now it's the 6 of them. And they talk about like, oh, should we use Leah as a number? Should we bring Leah in? No, we shouldn't bring Leah in, but we can use her as a number. She'll vote with us. That's how it goes. That's how it can work.
And also worth noting, MJ at one point does try and walk in back into the HOH, and we had to call people hide. And MJ proceeded to keep way. MJ definitely does like pulling up to the HOH room early. That's been a trend this season that I've noticed. And she likes to pull up, and she likes to kind of camp in a little bit to kind of gain or try and gain the trust there. But I thought that was a very funny moment as well. Taran, another alliance with a number in it. 6th Avenue.
Yeah. Listen, if it works, it works, I guess. Tucker likes the number names.
Yeah, 5 points, 6th Avenue. I guess fish tank isn't quite, that could be any number of fish.
So T-Core and Chemo talk after this meeting, and they don't want Chelsea to be the renom because the Quinn plan is that Quinn gets taken off the block, Chelsea goes up on the block in his place. They don't want that to happen. They don't like how Brooklyn handled everything, but they didn't actually want to flip on all of those people. They wanted, again, to go after, like, MJ. And so they still feel like they want to protect Chelsea and Quinn. And so in their minds, what they would like to have happen is that Tucker use the veto on Quinn and MJ go up in his place. That's what they want to push for. And so I imagine they won't push for it.
Right. They want to push for it. What does that mean?
Now,
that means
here, listen, they did the flip. But this is back to the previous thing they did before where they wanted Leah on the block instead of Rubina, and then it never happened. Maybe they've learned their lesson and maybe they will push for it.
The new and improved, maybe, perhaps.
Maybe they realize now, like, okay, we can actually do some things. I'm hopeful. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, this is and also worth noting, The AI comp isn't over. The AI arena is still in play. 3 noms is still in play. I genuinely thought they were gonna call it quits after last. I thought last night was gonna be the last one. Nothing was mentioned. Do you think we have this for one more week and then that's it?
I don't know. I think we got it at least 2 more weeks, maybe 4.
Well, I think what's interesting to me, oh God, that's way too many. But the AI instigator doesn't come into play this week either. It's going to come into effect starting next week. So, because initially I thought, okay, well, Tucker as the HOH and the instigator, that's no fun. But if Tucker does get those votes for it, he's not going to be the HOH by the time it comes into play. I wonder if the AI instigator starts a new twist or a new Thursday. I don't know. Because I'm like, the more and more the numbers dwindle, like it's just weird to consider that we'll be in a place where half the house would have been on the block.
I mean, the reason I say it could easily last longer is because Battle of the Block lasted 8 weeks.
Don't remind me of that.
And that was 4 nominees, not 3. So
yeah,
like 2 HOHs, 4 nominees. I think it could easily go pretty deep into the season. And because it's delivering, I would expect that they wouldn't want to end it too soon. But who knows?
Well, this is we could be in a position again. So with a Brooklyn, Cam, and Quinn nomination block, if Brooklyn wins the veto, takes herself down, Chelsea gets put up, and then Cam wins AI, Quinn could leave. There's so many outs here. I think that nothing's locked in. I think the comps are going to speak a lot of things into the game. But I'm excited for this week, Taran. One of the main things I'm excited for, we talked about this earlier. I think we have a different Chemo on our hands. Chemo's a little bit more heated, a little bit more maybe willing to call some people out in the event that they play in his face too much. And I'm not saying I'm never going to want to push someone who, especially a cheerful energy like Chemo, I would never want him to be fighting in that house. But also, I'm curious what that looks like. It's kind of like I want to see how that goes. Because him and Rabina were talking late at one point, and they were having this energy of like a little heated. I want that energy.
Well, they did have a funny Tikor and Chemo. They were talking about the Chelsea thing. Chemo, of course, was like, "See, Tikor, I really feel like Tucker's he's looking out for us. Like Tucker's he's really got our backs. See what I mean?" And Tikor was like, "Chemo, he still can't even get my name right. He still calls her Tikor."
Yep.
And it's like, that is such a telling thing for Tikor that that's exactly what Tucker is in this game to her. And so in her mind, and I think in their minds, or her mind at least with Tucker, the 6th Avenue, it's great, but the ideal world is that Tucker and Angela get replaced with Quinn and Chelsea. And so for the record, this alliance was 6th Avenue is Angela, Joseph, Chemo, Rubina, Tikor, and Tucker. 6 people. If Tikor and Chemo have their way, Angela gets cut from that alliance and Quinn comes in. And then if Tikor has her way, Tucker also gets cut from that alliance and Chelsea gets brought in. And Chemo agreed with that, but we'll see.
Listen, I am very intrigued at how they're going to, because obviously this is something that a lot of us can see. Chemo is very much in on the Tucker squad. When Tucker was holding the 6th Avenue meeting, or before even Joseph joined in, I feel like Chemo was part of the ad-lib crew up there. Rubina's part of it. Joseph. Chemo's very much like, yes, Tucker, exactly. I agree with what you're saying. You're saying that perfectly. That is funny. But Tikor was saying nothing. Tikor said no, nothing, just silence. And I don't think this is going to divide them, but this is definitely something down the road Tikor is going to want to do, and Chemo might have a hard time doing, is cutting Tucker. But that moment will come and should come for their
It
win equity.
absolutely needs to. I mean, T-Core is completely in the right here.
Yeah.
Given that Tucker has been immune for the last like what, 4 weeks?
Yeah. The only
4
week he
weeks.
could have gone up was week 1.
Week 1.
Yeah.
Week 1 is the only week Tucker was not immune in this game. There have only been like that 1 week out of all the weeks so far, he has been vulnerable. Given what we just saw last season, that is not a guy that you allow to stay in the game if he's ever vulnerable. And he's certainly not a guy that you willingly take to the final 6 or further.
No.
And so T-Core is completely right, and they absolutely should be cutting him as soon as they can. The question is, will Chemo be on board for that? And I'm not sure.
I think Chemo's going to definitely approach it in a, well, how about we get this person first and then look at Tucker? I think he's going to keep pushing Tucker down that line some if he can. But I don't know how much he'll be able to get that going. Because I definitely think the other thing to look at is there's quite a few people in this house that kind of would not mind Tucker sticking around for a while and would definitely want to work with him or hide in the shadows or whatever. But I think T-Core is someone who can definitely see the writing on the wall with regards to Tucker.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that's about what we have. Pooya, anything else that you wanted to bring up from last night?
So Tucker's music was The Vision by The Vision, and I've never heard of them. I checked out a little bit of the music. I'm really into it. So I'm going to be checking out this album later to see how it goes. The HOH letter moment was very sweet with Tucker. I thought that was nice. So those were kind of like, are you missing a marquee moment? You said an O, like you were going to reveal something that we missed.
The Tabina stuff. We mentioned it before. But you know,
sounds like someone watched the Tabina stuff last night. It wasn't me, but go on. What is the update?
Yeah. Doth protest too much?
I protested very minimal. I feel like
there was a bit of a protest there. I don't know.
Which part of it would you like to talk about, Taran?
It's
I need to leave.
But she didn't leave.
Things are heating up.
Yeah, she stayed in the HOH room last night.
Yeah. So there you go.
That was it. Yeah. Now you know.
All right. Well, that then is what we have for you today on the update. I will be back in a couple of hours with Rob for the BB Q&A. You can watch it live on YouTube, but like the feeds, you will not have a rewind. You will not be able to watch it later unless you are a patron. If you are a patron, you can also call in live and ask us some questions. Lots to chat about here on the Q&A today. And I'll be back tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, to update you on everything that happens today on the Big Brother 26 live feed. So tune in for that because we are surely in for a bit of a day today. And then we'll keep it moving. Sunday night, another episode, another podcast. I'll be on Twitch watching the episode, playing some games, doing some things. So find me over there on Twitch. Check out the Tastemakers over on We Know Scripted TV. And that's what we got. Pooya, what are you up to?
Well, I'm going to be live on Twitch tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern, twitch.tv/Pooya. So you can find me there. We have a good time come through. We talk a lot of Big Brother during the Big Brother season there as well. 90 Day Fiance, we're catching up on it. I just recorded the part 2 and 3 of the tell-all with Scally. That should be going out soon, so you can check that out. And I might have some other projects coming up as well. You can check those out when they drop. And if you are a patron of RHAP and you've not checked out this week's slop, I was the guest with Chappelle and Rob. It's very inappropriate, but very fun. So you can check that out and see how that went.
All right. Well, stay tuned for the Cedric interview as well. Thank you all so much for joining us, and I will see all of you next time.